所以我们的问题是，作为一个印度人去研究中国的房中术，我们挺好奇您的学习经历的。当初是什么契机让您选择了这个方向？师承的是哪位老师？学习过程中有没有遇到文化上特别难理解的地方？ We're quite curious about your learning journey. As an Indian studying Chinese Fang Zhong Shu, what was the initial opportunity that led you to choose this path? Who was your teacher? And during the learning process, were there anything culturally difficult to understand?
For me, the backdrop was laid by my grandmother. My grandmother was really a very clever tantric practitioner. And from my grandmother, it was very easy because she used to talk a lot about Chinese culture and Chinese philosophy, and very, very, very properly. I know these three, Mencius, Lao-Tzu, Confucius, all very young, nothing new for me. So I grew up in this kind of environment. And then as I grew older, then I was doing Kung Fu anyway at the age of 10. And Kung Fu, Kung Fu today and Kung Fu those days are different. Kung Fu today, what you are doing is basically some physical exercise as defined by the Anglophones, the English-speaking community. They define what should be Kung Fu. So these definitions of Kung Fu are different from when I was a young boy. Today it is a sport. It is a match between two, willing partners. But those days it was philosophy. It was spiritualism. So I was brought up like that in the culture of the temples. I think Shaolin was even shut for many years. This is a new Shaolin. The old Shaolin is shut, finished. So in Malaysia, in Penang, it was never shut. The teachers were there, and their cultural hub is the Keklok Tree, and then everywhere they were available. Different systems of Kung Fu was available because it was a culturally rich Chinese town, this Penang. So I grew up there. So my attitude towards the Chinese culture is, it is the same as the Indian culture. There was a Kung Fu group in my school. This Kung Fu group was practicing Fang Zhong Shu with the help of a father of a few of my students, the sexual practices. Maybe I was 14 years old. I cannot go into the details. It's very difficult for people to cope with the details of Fang Zhong Shu practice. But anyway, so then I met this teacher, Shifu Chang, and she opened my eye. There's a lot here, a lot. In the beginning I was thinking Fang Zhong Shu is only sexual practice. Then I realized, no, it is the entire Chinese way of looking into health, spiritualism, and it comes from the Yellow Emperor's Classic. So I was like, wow, this Yellow Emperor's Classic is called this Fang Zhong Shu. So then, when I was with this teacher, wow, it made many sense because I have my Kung Fu teacher, a close friend of my family, especially my father's friend. And his name is Shifu Teng. He lives in Thailand. After a lot of difficulties in Malaysia, he moved to Thailand, And so they were all persecuted for knowing the Fang Zhong Shu at that time when I was a boy. So he explained to me. I asked him, he explained. It's a normal conversation with him and me because he takes me to school. When my father cannot take me to school, he takes me to school. So in the car, my school is very far. So in the car we talk. A lot, we talk on the Fang Zhong Shu. We talk a lot of the Kung Fu. And he is one of the most important Kung Fu teacher for me. Then with these two teachers, Shifu Teng, I don't know his first name. I forgot, because when you're small, we call him uncle. We cannot call him by name. See? Now I call him Shifu Teng. And then with that Shifu Chang Wai Chang, I was really in the Chinese temple all the time, loving it, completely immersed in it. Like this is so beautiful, so clever. For me, it is a contrast between science, Tantra, and the Yellow Emperor. So Fang Zhong Shu is very early. If you really understand, it goes to the Yellow Emperor. In the revival, the Buddhist version is the Shaolin Temple. But you can find Fang Zhong Shu in the Huang Nei Jing. That is before Christ, At least if you want to believe the Western scholarship, is before Christ. Then in the second round, it was highlighted by the Shaolin guys. And the Shaolin guys who were talking about Fang Zhong Shu in the Buddhist way. They were making the Fang Zhong Shu. But then that got all stopped. I think it stopped when the Cultural Revolution happened. Then the temple was shut. I think in 1977, the temple was reopened. 1977. And then new form of Shaolin was put in place. And then just before that, there was something called Wushu. So the problem with the mainland China is that they don't like spiritualism. So they cancel all this. So then what was taught was Wushu, performing arts. You have such a legacy. Why you want to make it into drama? La? Performing art, anybody can do that. Why you want to bring it to this level? Huh? So Fang Zhong Shu became heart of the Shaolin. Or you can say another interpretation of Fang Zhong Shu, the Buddhist interpretation of Fang Zhong Shu. And this I was studying with my teachers in Penang. They were teaching me a lot. I was only a young boy, 14, then, 15, 16. This time only they taught me. The Shifu, the Shifu Teng, he started the whole thing. Then when I became older, about 16 or 17, I met the Shifu Chang. And then she taught me more. My entire approach to Kung Fu is through Fang Zhong Shu. Because a lot of people think that you go like stages. That is the English way of saying stage 1, stage 2. In Chinese culture, no. It's the other way around. Fang Zhong Shu is the DNA of Shaolin.